Okay, so this is not a response to that gear guy. That gear guy is just like uh, one of my favorite like YouTubers. Like, go and check out his videos even. Especially if like you've ever worked like in the nightclub industry or bars in the UK, or if you know a little bit about the gay scene, because like he's the only guy I've ever seen on YouTube that's actually addressed the gay scene in a real way. And like I had some, okay, I'm not gay at all, right? But you know, like I lived with a gay guy. I used to go to gay clubs and stuff, right? And I knew a little bit about it. Obviously, like I'm a guest in that scene, but yeah, he really nails some of the shit that happens in the gay scene. So go check out his channel. This is like not me responding to him. This is me like being inspired to talk about something in my life from what happened to him.
You know, I had some other problems in my life at the time with work and with various other things going on. I had a pretty toxic relationship.
So let's talking about this. He's had an injury, right? So like he's like a doorman, a bouncer, whatever you call him. That he's a security guy, right? And he's talking about like in his past when he had a some kind of really bad injury and how it affected him. And what I'm going to talk about after he's talked, bear in mind I'm taking him out of context. Watch his whole video, but like it's and I didn't realize until it happened to me, but how an injury can kind of affect a man, like psychologically or something.
Happening around me, which I've explained in one of my other videos as well. Going out with a crazy drunk woman that had all the red flags that, again, you know, being younger, I should have learned. But there we are.
Red flags just look like flags when you're wearing rose tinted goggles, right?
And I ended up just sitting around at home, feeling sorry for myself, and I went right back to what I was doing as a kid, which was just eating all the junk food, all the stuff that was easy and convenient. I
And like he's talking about like post injury, like this kind of like just sitting at home and doing nothing kind of shit, which is, I will tell my story after his. But yeah, it, it happened to me too.
I lost the impetus to actually be bothered to make healthy food, because the way I was seeing it was, well, you're not going to the gym, you know, you've been kind of robbed of that. What's the point in going through all this health food stuff, trying to get in shape if you can't?
And I would say like at least with my particular situation, I was like, what's the point in anything? I'm broken now. I'm just a broken man, you know? And like, yeah, I'd never understood this until my body was broken. But it's like this feeling like I'm just broken. Fuck it, you know. Not saying that's what he was doing, sitting at home eating whatever. But that's what I was doing when I was sitting at home and eating whatever and just getting stoned as fuck and shit.
Can't even go and train. You know, I figured that that was pretty much it. And as a young man, I was definitely under the impression that if you couldn't go to the gym, you know, you couldn't be in shape. I couldn't be further wrong, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But that was a big mistake on my part. You know, I wish I hadn't have done that. Unfortunately, that went on for literally several years. You know, I'd partially got myself into this mental state. You know, I'd become quite depressed.
Look at that. This guy's like a Chad, and then on the other photo, he just looks like depressed. And I'm not like judging him, but you can kind of see. Let's just go back a little bit if I can. Like him now, he's like a kind of focused guy and shit, and you can just see in the face that he's when he's got this picture when he's injured, he's just like low energy, right? And I'm not judging it because that's this video is about what happens when you got injuries when you're a man. It saps your energy for sure.
About the whole situation. And I'd basically told myself, well, that's it. You know, you won't be doing this stuff anymore. So I was a pretty sad state of affairs at that point in my life. And things changed through a dream, actually. I mean, I was deeply unhappy. I'd become fat. It took me several years to put that fat on, but I was back up to having like a 40-inch waist. I looked like absolute crap. You know, my skin was bad. I looked like a mess.
Like with him, like, and I'm not judging him here, but obviously, like, he's been like a Chad in the past, right? He's looked awesome. He's a doorman and a bodybuilder. He'd have had like Adonis fucking body. And one of the things that he's grieving, I guess, when he's sick is that he just doesn't look good anymore, right? For me, it's a bit different. It's more like, and I'm not comparing these two things, but it's a loss. It's the same. Like for my job, I needed to be strong. Didn't need to like look good or something. I needed to be strong. And when I had my injury, I wasn't strong anymore. And it's like, well, it's a similar thing. Like, he looked like awesome and shit. And he needs to be strong for his job too. But for me, it was just about, shit, I'm just fucking weak now, you know?
My general demeanor was poor. You know, my motivation was absolutely falling off a cliff. Looking back, I probably had, you know, my testosterone levels were probably in the floor as well. So not good at all. And I actually had a dream one night. I was laying there in bed and I was already deeply unhappy with everything. And in this dream, I was in a gym. And
yeah, listen to dreams, folks, man. Like, I don't know, I listen to dreams a lot.
I was doing pull-ups, you know, I was doing chins, and I was in really good shape. I remember jumping down off the chinning bar in this dream, looking down at myself, and I looked good in the dream, you know, looking down, I had abs and all that, and I thought, yeah, this is great. Then something woke me up, and I woke up, and just for a few seconds, I thought I was still that guy, you know, I thought I still was in really good shape. And then I kind of looked down at myself in bed and realised, no, you're an absolute mess, you're a complete mess. And
I must say, I've been there many times myself.
that was a real life-changing thing, to just feel the difference between how good I felt when I thought I was in good shape, you know, how mentally good I felt compared to...
Yeah, and like, and for him, it's like, it's maybe a little bit about looks, but for me, it was also just about being strong and then just being weak.
The depression that like immediately sank in when I looked down and just saw what a mess I was. And by now, because I'd been not doing any physical...
And for him, it's not just that. It's not just the looks. He is obviously like a strong dude, and he'll have felt weak, you know? Because there's this feeling when you're strong. It's kind of, I don't know, you just feel sort of good. Like, you feel like you could rip a table in half. You feel like you can pick someone up and throw them through a window if you wanted to. Not that you're going to, but there's this feeling that's quite nice when you feel strong. And when you feel weak, it's like the opposite. You feel vulnerable as a man. You feel vulnerable.
Exercise for several years, probably about 4 years, 5 years, that my injuries had gotten a lot less. Just over time, I was able to get back use of my arm. I did have some weird quirks, like my muscles would sometimes bunch up, and that would happen in both hands. I was getting like poor circulation in my hands because of this nerve compression. But if I took things easy, it wasn't too bad. If I overdid it, you know, if I was helping a mate out and I went round and picked up a bunch of lumber with him or something, then I would like pay for it the next day. And I would just think, well, this is me now, you know, this is me, like a older age.
Yeah, but the problem is, like, when you're injured, like, you tend to push it too far. And you fuck yourself more, right?
Version, I'm going to have to put up with these aches and pains. But because I'd had this dream, I remember turning around to my girlfriend at the time. She wasn't happy with the way I looked either. You know, she had told me pretty straight that this wasn't a look that appealed to her at all. So I knew that my relationship was in jeopardy as well. And fair enough, you know, some guys would say, oh, you should stick with someone, you know, no matter what. I personally wouldn't expect a partner to stick with me if I was so lazy I couldn't be bothered to try and look my best for them. I think that's part.
Yeah, and I think like I don't know, like luckily I was kind of single when I had my injury, but like for me, if I'd had a partner at that time, I've had partners in the past so I can get some idea of what it would be like. I was just kind of in a self pity, giving up sort of mentality because number one, the pain drains your energy, and the lack of sleep drains your energy too. And I don't think it would be as much like for me because like maybe I'm not like a Chad like this guy, you know, like for me, if I did have a girlfriend, I think she would have lost interest because as a man, or my experiences as a man being injured, you just kind of feel useless and everything's hard and you're pretty much not going to be the best partner, you know?
The responsibility of being in a relationship. So I understood where she was coming from, and I signed up for a gym membership that day, and I remembered all the diet stuff that I'd already done. So I went to a supermarket, bought a bunch of the food, the diet food, got rid of all the other stuff from the house. You know, I threw out all the chocolate bars and whatever, and I just started doing what I'd done before.
Okay, and like so, like we can cut it here. Like basically, this guy, he had an injury. It affected his life for like I don't know 3 or 4 years, and he came back from it, right? And I might be projecting here. I probably am, but I'm thinking he's not going into as much detail about how it affected his identity as. Okay, it affected my identity, and I think it would have affected his identity. And this is like if you have a physical job like I do, and this guy's got like a physical job because he's like a security guy, right? Like he has all the skills, which is probably 90% of being a security guy, but you need that 10% of being a big hard cunt who can overpower people when you need to, right? And now he's had an injury. His career is difficult now, and I don't know exactly how long he spent not working, but like I had a similar thing. Like my job is still a physical job, and I had an injury, and it was a kind of injury where like I'm not like this isn't me here like just like going for sympathy or something. No, like I think what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. What does kill you makes your mother stronger. It's all in the plan or whatever. Or if there's not a plan or whatever, it happens, you got to deal with it. So yeah, I had an injury and my job's physical. And this injury was like kind of scary because it was like, they say like give pain out like 1 out of 10 or something. I'd be like a 9 most of the time, like for 6 weeks. And I'm thinking in that time like scary thoughts, like, okay, I'm sort of accepting maybe I'm never gonna walk again. I can walk now, fine, okay. But I was like, maybe I'm never gonna walk again. Okay, like how do you deal with that, you know? I'm never gonna do the job I do again, my career, that's fucked. Okay, how do I deal with that? But the biggest thing is just the pain. When the pain is like at 9, sometimes, okay, maybe there is a 10 I don't know about, but like it was pretty close. It's like 9.5 sometimes. And that means you can't sleep. You know what I mean? Like, and what happens when you can't sleep is you have like sleep deprivation on top of the pain. The pain's draining all of your energy, right? And then you got the sleep deprivation, which starts making you a bit crazy and stuff, right? And the meds I was on, like, I got addicted to them. I do this kind of crazy addictive shit, like try to stack them. and shit like this. And I was like, okay, I need to get off the meds. And what I did instead, this is like after 6 weeks of the meds, it's like I need to get off these meds because I'm fucking turning into a junkie. Uh, I was also using like weed and shit and kratom and stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm going to switch to the natural shit because it's also legal where I was. And so I went onto that shit, right? And yeah, like if you eat enough weed, you will go to sleep, like no matter what pain you're under. And I ended up becoming like a proper fucking Rastafarian or something, like smoking weed all the time, eating as much weed as I could, doing kratom, like the kind of amount of kratom where like if someone had had like just a little bit, like a tenth of my kratom, they're going to be like barfing up instantly. Whereas obviously my goal was to have as much kratom until you barf, because that's when it really works, right? But yeah, it got out of hand. Had to get rid of the kratom too, and eventually I managed to come back to work. And this is the point of this video. So like, I managed to be able to walk again, and that was great. But I went back to my job that's physical with my colleagues, and I had to go on light duties. You know what I mean? Because that's all I could do. I would do as much as I could do with the physical strength that I had after this ordeal, and also just lack of mobility. And then as a man, you feel like a drain, like useless, like you're not pulling your weight. And that's, I'm sure maybe some women feel this when they get injured too, but for a man, I think my own personal experience is you need to be useful. Like you need to be one of the guys, or you even want to be one of the best of the guys or something. Do you know what I mean? Or like, just not like a useless cripple. And it really affected me anyway, and I think it affects a lot of men. This idea of like feeling useless or whatever, like powerless or something, you know? And like I would go to work when I was on light duties, but I'd push the light duties and I'd push it to as much as I could. And no one gives a fuck what you do, right? It's more what you don't do. But yeah, I'd go home and I'd be like in fucking pain, like not sleeping. How much weed can I fucking have just to go to sleep and whatever, you know? I'm not like, oh, boo-hoo, me. No, it's like this, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. What does kill you makes your mother stronger. The point of this video is when you are injured as a man, if you're in a kind of job, or maybe not even job, just physically being a man, not being strong when you have been strong just feels horrible. If you're working with your colleagues and you're not contributing as much as they are because you can't, you just feel like useless. Like, I guess it's a evolved fucking thing, you know, like some guy in the tribe is like not fucking pulling his weight. And maybe we don't need this motherfucker anymore or something, and that's where the anxiety comes from, or the shame comes from, or something. But like, I can't speak for this guy, but he made me realize something in me. Like, one of the hardest things about being injured as a man is the shame. You're no longer strong. You no longer can have a physical presence because you're injured. you're not contributing at work as much as other guys because you're injured. It shouldn't matter, but it psychologically it really does. And yeah, I'm happy this guy came back from his injury. I'm happy that I came back from my injury, and I learnt a lot in that time. And I don't know, to any men watching this who are injured or have been injured or are disabled or something, I understand. I understand the feelings that you might be having that no one talks about.